Hello, this is my point insert map. A few weeks ago I did a playthrough to test out the general worthiness of the map. I was pretty happy with it overall. There wasn't too many problems, or some thoughts, but there's always something you can improve on. And today I'll just be going through some of the changes I made over the last week or two. Something I noticed when the bots were actually climbing up this ladder here was that the ladder looks supersized in some way. So that was one of the first fixes I made to it. There's actually a second ladder here in the map as well. All I had to do was just cut and paste that over. No changes in this room at all. It's pretty much the same as it's ever been. This room here, in the pump room. We have this section here. If I come along the side, you can see there's quite a big gap back here. And the AI and zombies and things can actually, or might actually be able to get stuck behind here. So the solution was to create a clip zone around it, just to keep them out and smooth things over. This section here is actually a machine for some reason. I have no idea why it's here, but it was in the original game map, so it's in mine too. It's like a little mini thing that destroys anything that it touches. But the steepness of this hill here was too great, and it was very difficult to get out, especially underwater. So I flattened out the surface here. This was also squared up to make it more symmetrical. I think symmetry is always good. I don't know why. Just guess everybody likes symmetry, don't they? Up we go to the top here. No changes here. And here we go to this section here. Now I'm going to load something called the portal file, which loads all these pretty blue lines everywhere on the map. Now these blue lines, they're actually part of the visibility system, which is designed to optimize the frame rate of your map while it's running. So what they do is they bake into the map information that tells the game that stuff around the corners or objects from certain angles, what can and can't be seen. It does this so it doesn't have to do it at runtime. So the frame rate can be higher and the gameplay can be overall smoother. It's a very nice optimization that Valve put into their map or maps. The thing is though, it can get a bit confused, and it can get a bit heavy during compile time. See, when you run the map, it runs actually 3 stages. The first bit is all your basic geometry. The second bit is the visibility system, which works out all the blue lines and what have you. But it can actually take a long time to do. And the final stage is what they call it radiosity, which means lighting. Now, why wouldn't you just press that button to stop the visibility system running? Well, sometimes you want to continually check that things are going correctly in the map. And you can't always do that from the editor itself. You just have to go into the game to make sure it's working properly. This is especially true of all entities like logic. So if you've got gates opening and doors and things, you can't test it out in here. You can also see from this view that the lighting is nothing like what it is in the game. And if the lights are dynamic, well, you can't see them from here either. If I switch back to the old map, this is 65. This is the actual map that I played on. You can see over here, there's blue lines working around some little thing here, and causing a whole bunch of extra lines back here. This type of thing can happen a lot when you're creating like custom geometry and shapes. See, you've got the broken ground here, which is all like 100 different angles, and it would actually take the visibility system an age to go through this lot alone, let alone a whole map. If I click on it, nope, not letting me click on it. I'll click on it up here. You can see it's a function detail rather than nothing at all. This is so when some piece of geometry has no entity attached to it at all, it's classed as world geometry, and that's what the visibility system works around. So in the new map, you can see the little spikes here are part of a function detail, and there's no blue lines behind it, which saves on compile time. I know what you're thinking, what about all these lines here? Well, you do your best, as always, to minimize them as much as possible, but sometimes you just have to let it go. You can see they're gone from here. Now this is the old map again. I'm going to minimize the old map. The actual compile time, while the actual games are running, having too many visibility lines here, according to the wiki, is not actually a big deal. It can reduce performance a little bit, but the amount of time you might spend cleaning all this up, it's arguable that it's not worth it all the time. And especially considering that I've actually been working from decompiled maps, and I've actually had to do a lot of this already. Sometimes you think, well, I'm not going to bother doing this anymore, because I'll be here forever. See, this section over here would be more difficult to optimize, so I just left it. As opposed to things like the pipes, which they're so quick to do. We just double click and up here, where is it? Tight entity, and that's it. Pretty quick. Now, these pipes are actually new as well. The original pipes were much more jagged. This, if you might remember, this is the point where the bots were not working properly. The survivor bots were actually coming along here and just glitching straight down to the ground. The solution was to create an extra navigation mesh point or box just along the edge here. That way, if something wanted to jump down, it could. Although the survivor bots don't like to, because it's actually too high or too far to drop. More blue lines here, all over the place as the mouse cursor goes for a spin. Oh, it stopped again, thank you. It's one of the bugs in Hammer. See, there's blue lines everywhere. Yeah, it was actually in here which I saw the bots get stuck in these filing cabinets, so they were changed to static and moved out of the way. Same in here as well. In this room here, there were a whole bunch of chairs bouncing around and getting stuck on, and the bots were getting stuck on them, so I just removed them as well. I also showed some textures, some custom textures that I created using GIMP. there was just a small problem with them. Yeah, this one here in particular, there's a bug with the animated textures which can sometimes duplicate the top row of pixels along the bottom. Also, the brightness had to be changed on all of them. They were slightly out of balance. That's it. I've still got to do this sign here. It's actually the even older version of the map. You can see it here. Probably a couple of years old, that. So, another one or two things to do. I noticed some more geometry that can be optimized. But otherwise, I don't think I'll be working on this map too much. I also was working on the mesh file as well, giving it a clean up and optimizing it. So that's it for now. Goodbye.